Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Heller from Epic Careering, and today, and what has been on my mind for a while, and I think a lot of people's minds lately, is compassion on such a divisive time worldwide. It's something that, could use a little more of maybe. And one place that I know it belongs more to be more prevalent is in the workplace. I'm going to ask you for a little compassion for me because my cat is here with me and wants lovin's right now. Um, so I'm going to try to keep her happy while I give you value. Just a little bit about me. All right. First of all, if you're here for the mini hypnotherapy session, go to Hypnotherapy by Karen Heller. I no longer do it on this page. This is going to be more focused on work-related topics, not that there isn't an application for hypnotherapy at work. There certainly is, but this is just going to be focused on more workplace type of topics or career-related topics. And after 12 years, I did celebrate my 12th anniversary on June 1st, which I really failed to celebrate in any kind of public way. So if you feel like celebrating me, I will take that. I totally missed out on doing that. So I've been getting a couple congratulations on LinkedIn because I guess it triggers maybe a few weeks late. But June 1st was my 12th anniversary in business. And I think you can imagine after spending significant time with a lot of different people who have been unhappy and unhappy enough that they want to change something. And it doesn't always mean that they're changing jobs or changing companies. Sometimes it just means that, they want to move up or over in the same company. But I guess I've always had an innate type of talent where people feel comfortable, when I'm at my best, that is, people feel comfortable talking to me and spilling their guts to me. So when I'm at my best, that's one of my best talents, is that people feel comfortable telling me, what's really bothering them. And that, of course, enables me to be a more effective coach for them. And what they have told me, doesn't unfortunately shock or surprise me much anymore. Some things do, but generally, what I feel like it all boils down to is compassion. If these companies wanted to keep these amazing, brilliant talents, there were things that they could have done in order to do that. And compassion is one of the number one things. Now, I've had some amazingly brilliant, accomplished, successful clients over the 12 years. And then even before that, when I was recruiting, you probably shouldn't spill your guts to a recruiter, but I don't know that was a thing people did anyway. Like, I know you'll understand, so I'll tell you this, even though I probably shouldn't. So even before I switched to coaching, candidates, job seekers, professionals, executives just had a tendency to, share with me what it is about their conditions that are unfavorable or where they could add something that would help enable them to thrive. And they also taught me a lot about being a leader in a corporation and all the things that they have to navigate and all the challenges that they have to overcome. And what made them so brilliant in my mind is how they overcame all of those challenges. But eventually, a lot of them did change. They left the company, and they didn't have to have left the company. There were just conditions there that they didn't feel empowered enough to change, and they were dedicated to making an impact. That's what they really wanted to do, was to make an impact. And if they were inhibited in making that impact, then they felt that there was another place where their talents and skills and expertise were going to be more applicable and better leveraged to make a larger impact for more people. And that's what successful people want to do. They want to grow. They want to make an impact. So one place where compassion, and just to define compassion for a little bit, okay, so there's empathy. And empathy is certainly related to compassion. And for me, empathy is an emotional intelligence, is being able to step into somebody else's shoes and see things from their perspective. And there is training, and I wrote a blog last week about how you absolutely can develop emotional intelligence in people, and that is something that Epic Careering now offers as well. But compassion, I feel like, is more like, besides being able to see things from their perspective, really taking into consideration and making decisions in consideration of how that person feels. Now, a company has to survive with profit, in order to, sustain its workforce, which is an important decision. And very many mission-oriented companies have to stay on their mission. But unfortunately, when they stay on their mission and they neglect to infuse their culture with compassion, then they're inhibiting their mission. Okay? So I am enthralled and fascinated by the world of conscious capitalism, where people spend their money, invest their money on product services that are provided by companies who are conscious, meaning they take people and planet into consideration when they make their decisions, long-term impacts on people and planet. And what they're trying to build is a sustainable company, not just environmentally sustainable, all right, but a company that's going to survive. As more people, as this, awareness is happening with much of the general population, not all of it, but as awareness is increasing about the impacts, negative, of not being compassionate, not taking people and planet into consideration, more people feel inclined to act and to, spend money in these companies that are conscious. And compassion is a huge component of being conscious. Hi, whoever joined me. Let me know you're here. So that's compassion, not just understanding how somebody else feels, listening, understanding, but also taking that into consideration, saying, okay, we were going to go on this path, but I can see how that could be important. So we're going to really take that into consideration. Talent is definitely one area where compassion we could use a little more of it. Okay. So in terms of understanding the job seeker challenges, and making it easier for them to not just apply, but gain access to people who have real opportunities, or being able to access information that will help them determine if this is a company that they can contribute their talents to. I'm trained in finding this information, but not everybody is. So putting that information right out there. Helping talent grow, like I said. Top talent, what they want is they want to make an impact. They want to be unencumbered in making that impact, and they want to grow and develop. That's a human inclination. And people who have a taste of that, they want more and more and more, right? They don't get to a certain point where like, I could stop growing, I guess. I mean, even after these people retire, they find other ways to make an impact because that's what they're inclined to do. And if you fail to acknowledge where and how that person wants to grow and develop, and fail to give them compassion, and not just listening and understanding and saying, well, this position's open over here. It's not really what you want, but it's another chance to do this. But really being like, all right, even if you have to say, I don't see the pathway to that right now, but we can work together over the next few months to see how your desires, the areas in which you want to grow, the new skills that you want to acquire, how they can be accommodated. And this is time, and it's an investment that leaders have to make in order to keep their talent growing and satisfied in that way. And then feeling acknowledged, right? Some companies are really great at giving acknowledgement, and some companies reserve acknowledgement for particular outstanding achievements, so while other people feel unacknowledged. So there has to be a way, not like a participation trophy, but a way to say, generally, this is, what this person did in order to get here. This is a great model, a role model you can follow, and then have that person be a mentor to other people. So there's mentorship programs. So I'm not just going through saying, like, here's some areas where compassion, would be really helpful and helped you gain your competitive advantage, but also like here are some ways that it can be infused into processes, procedures, and culture so that you can use compassion as a core value and a competitive advantage. When you can keep your talent, you don't have to fill open positions that aren't new positions that were developed from growth. You don't have to replace talent going out the door, and when this talent goes out the door, where do they go? Well, even if you have non-competes, eventually they might wind up, if they really loved what they did in the industry that they were in, they will wind up working for your competition in some way, shape, or form. So do you spend your time and your money worried about potential litigation against employees who leave with intellectual capital? Or do you focus your time and attention and money on investing in your talent so that they stay with you and have a way to grow and continue to develop all of the talents and skills that are going to pay back in your corporation. Another thing that employees like is life outside of work. And even if an employee is all in on a mission, like all about, what it is that this company does and what they're up to and what they're achieving and how they're changing the world for the better, they still will not be fully satisfied in their life just dedicating their time and effort into that area. And so there has to be considerations for what their life is like outside of work. And if you're taking up more time, paying them even less money potentially for that time, how is that really impacting how they go home at night, how their kids are raised? What are their kids starting to believe? I know that my beliefs about work were totally shaped by watching my parents go off to jobs that didn't make them feel very good about, their companies, their time. They came home tired. They would complain. I'm sure that there were things about their jobs that they liked. They did both stay there for a very long time, but in the end, did it pay off for them? And that's really the thing. That people need to feel like they're getting back for their life either what they're putting into their job or even more than they're putting into their job. So they need ROI too, and there has to be consideration and compassion for both of those. Another place where compassion, if infused and embedded into the culture and procedures of the company, would add value would be in collaboration. People work differently. People think differently. If we can understand and take time to do that, to say, I work this way, this is the way I work best, but this other person doesn't work that way, or even this is my job, these are the demands of my job, and I can't accommodate this person's requests because I wouldn't be able to fulfill the demands of my job. Cross-training, ways to help people understand in a place of non-judgment. And that's really, I got into a really great philosophical discussion with somebody based on my previous blog about compassion, about, if you're judging somebody as not compassionate, that's not compassionate. You're in a place of judgment. And that's training that people need. That's self-awareness that people need to understand, is when you're communicating from a place of judgment, it lands completely differently than if you're communicating from a place of compassion. And really kind of understand, like, hey, I get it. Like, I get the challenges that a company, I'm going to show compassion for companies right now. I get that, companies and leaders and executives, they have pressure from shareholders and stakeholders and vendors and deliverables, and the world might be watching, and the world might be waiting for this desperately for this solution, and there's a lot more that goes into their decision making process, and if they can consider everything into those decisions, the decisions will be better decisions, and that will lead to a sustainable company that keeps talent, that doesn't burn through talent, and blemishes for a company might happen, but crises usually, not technical crises, even technical crises, because let's talk about if your talent is overworked, if you're not taking into consideration what they need physiologically for their body to be healthy, their mind to be sharp, then mistakes in quality happen. And mistakes in the process happen, and then deliverables don't get done on time, and clients become unhappy. And even if they do get done on time, maybe they get a product that isn't meeting their needs, or it has problems or bugs, and then you have to go back to the drawing board. And then, the cost of developing these solutions goes up, and the cost of the talent goes up. So it's a cascade of negative things that can cost a company money in the end. And you have to weigh, right? So we have to make these short-term goals. We have to make these numbers. We have to make sure our stock prices stay up for our shareholders. So we're going to make these short-term decisions based on, just the balance sheet. Or we're going to realize that our shareholders want a company that is going to survive. This newer age of people wanting to put their money into companies that are more conscious about people and planet, and wanting to work for companies that are more conscious about people and planet. So we're going to make our decisions a little bit differently in consideration of all of this. Hi, whoever's here. Let me know you're here. Obviously, listening to the customer in a compassionate type of way helps. Now, here's the difference between empathy and compassion. If you ever called customer service and you got somebody on the phone who could say, I understand your frustration, I understand that you've experienced this, and I'm sorry that you've experienced this, but, here's a cattail, but there's nothing we can do, that's our policy. That's empathy, right? This person is feeling me, but they're not necessarily going to contribute to anything happening as a result of my feedback. And that's frustrating. And if you can think about the customer just being like, okay, certain constraints, get it. I've had clients who one of their greatest skills is just being able to, deliver the truth to the customer and just say, here are our technical restrictions and why we won't be able to do exactly what you want us to do with this product in the time that you need us to do it. And then they're really good at inspiring compassion in other people. And that's another skill, right? If you have people who are compassionate, then they also have the skill of inspiring other people to be compassionate, to help them understand, to speak their language. That's important, right? Because if you give somebody a whole bunch of technical mumbo-jumbo they don't understand that explains why they won't get what they want, then that's not really helpful and it's not compassionate. So creating feedback loops with customers so that you can maybe even anticipate their needs and deliver ahead of time. And obviously you want your customers, your clients to be raving fans of yours. And again, a little compassion for my cat there. So many times I've gone live and she's been out of the picture, but she wants to be in it today. So, and then if you have blemishes or you have crises, when you think of crises, think of like the Me Too movement. Like if your company and your leaders were unfortunately, part of the exposed group of talent that unfortunately was not being compassionate and taking advantage of people or situations or power, that's a crisis. That's a crisis that can be completely averted by infusing your culture with a core value of compassion and infusing your processes with compassion. So a lot of companies are going out there and they're doing sexual harassment awareness, which really just kind of says, here's how you identify sexual harassment, and here's what you need to do if you are a victim of sexual harassment, and here's, how you can recognize yourself as a sexual harasser and prevent yourself from being a sexual harasser. If you have a culture that values and teaches compassion from the get-go or hires for compassion, which is a different problem that, we're talking about talent gaps, and we know that great talent is already hard enough to find and hire and retain. So, do you want to only hire compassionate people, or do you want to train the people that you have to identify, whether or areas in their life where they could be more compassionate? So, collaboration, keeping talent, retention, hiring talent, being able to turn customers into raving fans, keeping quality up, being able to fill roles faster because you've built a reputation and talent wants to be with you. They recognize in your company opportunities to grow and develop and make a large impact, not just with what the company does, but even within the company. And then leaving them room to do so. Being able to say, we realize that this is the impact that you want to make, and that works for us. We'll find a way to make that work. And even with shareholders, who, they want the balance sheet to work out. They want the stock prices to go up. They want other people to buy stock and make them a lot of money. But they also realize that it's a long-term game, and the world is changing, and more people are demanding that the companies that they work with and work for are conscious companies. So that's it on compassion. Thank you for joining me today, whether you're here live, I saw a couple of people drop in, or whether you're watching the recording. This is what I'm up to. I want to work with companies who want to be human-powered forces of positive change, okay? So if you know an executive leader or lower than executive leader, anybody in a company who could make decisions about bringing in training, then please let me know. I'd love an introduction to these people. I'd love to make a wider impact. I love the contributions that I've been able to make to individual executives and their careers. And just like the talent, I have a deep desire to increase my impact and grow and develop myself. And I've been developing the skills for a very long time now, and I have even new tools in my toolkit. And I can't wait to get into a company and help them infuse their culture with compassion, retain their talent, increase quality, increase profits in the long term. That's what I'm up to. So I appreciate any introductions. And I won't be here next Wednesday because it's 4th of July. So here in the U.S., we'll be celebrating Independence Day. I don't know, maybe I will pop on, but it'll be a surprise. Thanks again for joining me. Thanks for understanding about my cat wanting to be with me. And I look forward to seeing you again.